Once the fierce war of the last alliance had concluded, the North experienced a significant transformation. The once prosperous realm, established by the great Elendil, stood tall in memory, although it was beginning to show signs of vulnerability. In actuality, the noble bloodline survived. The ancient cities maintained their sturdiness, and even the emblematic banners still fluttered proudly above certain stone towers. Nonetheless, strength without united effort turns into mere illusion. Following King Irendar's untimely demise, he left behind 3 powerful Sunja, circumstance that instead of preserving one unified kingdom, led to its extensive division. Thus, the realm of Arthedain, founded by the former capital of Middle-earth, Cardolin, and the mysterious Kingdom of Rodor emerged triumphantly from what was once a unified entity. Each presumed itself to be the legitimate heir, but in doing so, each of them cultivated a deep distrust for the others. Pride often spoke more loudly than wise counsel. Business traffic consequently slowed to a crawl. Borders cemented solidly to protect the newfound territories. However, many of the old, cherished alliances within Middle-earth began to fracture under the weight of internal strife. The valiant Dunedain, who had previously stood unitedly alongside the elves and bravely faced the formidable Sauron himself, now found themselves embroiled in political battles over thrones and titles. As their focus waned, they failed to recognize the imminent and far-reaching threat that was rapidly burgeoning outside their immediate grasp. Deep within their halls of grandeur, the pasts remained revered. In actuality, however, the future was beginning to wear a crumbling seal. In the uncharted terrains that stretched far beyond the north, a sinister, ancient force stirred within the ground, slowly awakening and waiting for the perfect opportunity to burst forth and bring about devastation. Around the year 1300 of the Third Age, a shadow rose in the far north. It did not declare itself openly. It did not march immediately to war. Instead, it built slowly, deliberately, in the land that would be known as Angmar. Its ruler was unseen by most, his identity cloaked in rumor and dread. But the wise understood the truth. This was no mortal king. This was the lord of the Nuzgar, the Witch-king, once a man, now entirely bound to the will of the One Ring. He carried centuries of hatred and patience. He understood men, he understood their pride, and he understood how kingdoms fall not through sudden destruction, but through careful pressure applied over time. Angmar gathered strength quietly. Orcs answered its call. Dark men from the east joined its banners. Creatures from the mountains stirred, and while Arnor remained divided, Angmar grew united. The trap was forming, and the north did not yet feel the tightening core. The first cracks appeared in Rodor. Of the 3 kingdoms, it was the weakest in lineage and the most unstable in loyalty. Its rulers lacked the pure Narmanorian blood of their kin, and its lands were rugged and difficult to defend. The Witch-king saw opportunity there. Corruption entered not through open war, but through influence. Hillmen loyal to Angmar rose within Rodor. Alliances shifted quietly. Advisors turned traitor. The kingdom did not fall in a single night, it decayed from within. Soon, Rodor ceased to be a shield against the north and became a blade pointed at its former brothers. Cardolin and Arthedain now faced not only a distant enemy, but a neighbor turned hostile. Suspicion deepened between them. Aid was slow. Trust was fragile. Angmar had not yet unleashed its full force. Yet the balance had already shifted. The Witch-king understood that to destroy a realm one must first isolate it. And now the isolation of Arnor was nearly complete. War came gradually, like winter creeping over the land. Raids increased along borders. Watchtowers burned in the night. Messengers vanished on empty roads. Cardolan fought fiercely, determined to resist the northern threat. Arthedain stood firm, clinging to its claim as the true successor of Arnor. Yet, Angmar did not strike with reckless fury. Its campaigns were measured, relentless, calculated. Each loss weakened morale. Each victory fed fear. Plague descended upon Cardolan, compounding devastation, whether born of chance or darker design. It shattered what war had begun. Entire settlements were emptied. Burial mounds filled the Barrowdowns, and restless spirits lingered in sorrow and dread. But Dunedain now fought on two fronts, against invasion and against despair. The Witch-King advanced step by step, never overextending, never retreating without purpose. His goal was not simply conquest of land, it was the erasure of her people's confidence, and slowly the North began to believe that defeat was inevitable. Arthedain endured the longest and the most intense struggles. Its king still traced their lineage directly to Isildur and carried significant weight among the faithful people. Fortresses were constructed in an attempt to withstand further attacks, and the entire kingdom. Alliances were formed with neighboring countries to ensure regional stability. A strong alliance was formed with Gondor, with the southern borders as their defense line. Both kingdoms sent out messages to Gondor for strategic assistance, but the vastness of Northrend made it difficult to respond rapidly in times of crises. Gondor faced its own internal struggles and occasionally had limited capabilities to answer the urgent demands on their borders. Simultaneously, Angmar intensified their attack, pushing the neighboring kingdoms further and faster. Their armies moved with increasingly bold intent. The siege engines rolled across the frozen fields, and orc legions roared beneath black banners, echoing through the valleys. The Witch-King himself made only rare and secret appearances, casting a long shadow of terror and fear upon the borders of Arthedain. When hope weakens and even mere rumors become powerful enough to ignite passions, the foundations of a defense system begin to crumble under relentless assaults. With each and every victory claimed by Angmar, the victories felt less like actual battles and more like an unstoppable, unavoidable force dictating the outcome of the conflict. The once united North faced a myriad of challenges, struggling diligently to survive the ever-present shadow of Sauron's servant. The final blow fell in the year 1974 of the Third Age. Fornost, capital of Arthedain, stood as the last great symbol of Arnor's endurance. Its walls had witnessed centuries of rule. Its halls had echoed with the voices of kings. Now they echoed with war drums. Angmar's forces encircled the city, cutting off supply and escape. The siege was brutal and unrelenting. Fire consumed outer defenses. Towers collapsed beneath assault. Defenders fought with desperation, born not of hope, but of memory. They fought for what Anna had once been. Yet, memory alone cannot hold stone against iron. Fornost fell. Its king fled into exile. The line of northern kings was broken. Arnor, realm of Elendil, ceased to exist as a kingdom. It did not explode in a blaze of glory. It simply ended, a crown extinguished, a banner lowered forever. And in the ruins, the Witch-King's victory stood complete. But triumph did not bring satisfaction. The Witch-King's purpose extended beyond the north. Arnor had been a strategic target, yes, but also a symbolic one. It was the sister kingdom of Gondor. Its fall sent a message southward. No realm descended from Numenor was beyond reach. News traveled slowly, but when it reached Gondor, it carried dread. The north had fallen, a kingdom erased. The stewards of Gondor understood what this meant. If Angmar could annihilate Arnor, it could threaten Minas Anor and Minas Ithil in time. At last, Gondor acted decisively. A fleet was dispatched northward. Soldiers marched. Allies gathered. For the first time in decades, Angmar would face unified resistance. The Witch-King had achieved his primary goal. Yet he would not withdraw without testing his strength against this new force. The North would witness one final clash before shadow receded. In 1975, the Battle of Fornost marked the turning point. Gondor's forces, joined by elves from Lindon, struck Angmar with coordinated fury. The Witch-King's armies were driven back. Orc formations broke under disciplined assault. The tide that had long flowed in favor of shadow now reversed. On the battlefield, the Witch-King finally revealed himself openly, a towering figure of dread, crowned in terror, radiating cold despair. Yet even he could not withstand the combined might arrayed against him. Angmar was defeated, its armies scattered, its fortresses abandoned. The northern kingdom of shadow collapsed as swiftly as it had risen. But the Witch-King was not destroyed. As he withdrew, he left behind words that would echo through prophecy. No man could kill him. It was not arrogance. It was foresight twisted by dark understanding. And then he vanished into the east. Though Angmar fell, Arnor did not rise again. Its cities remained in ruin. Its lands grew wild. The victory had come too late to restore what was lost. The surviving Dunedain chose a different path. Without crown or capital, they became wanderers, rangers of the north, guardians in secret. They protected scattered villages from threats unseen. They kept watch over roads long forgotten. They carried the lineage of Isildur quietly, without throne or title. In anonymity, they endured. This transformation was not defeated, was adaptation. The Witch-King had destroyed a kingdom, but he had not extinguished its bloodline. The heirs of Elendil still walked Middle-earth, and destiny would one day call one of them to greater purpose. For now, they waited in shadow, much as their enemy did. The Witch-King returned to Mordor, where greater designs unfolded. The strength of Sauron was growing once more in secret. The fall of Arnor had served its function: destabilization, fear, demonstration of power. Gondor remained strong, but it was isolated without its northern counterpart. The balance of Middle-Elf shifted subtly. Kingdoms no longer trusted in permanence. The elves withdrew further west. Dwarven halls faced their own trials. The age of mighty realms was fading. What replaced them was fragmentation, and fragmentation favors darkness. The Witch-King prepared for future wars, knowing that patience would yield greater victories. Arnor had been only the beginning. In the centuries that followed, the memory of Arnor dimmed among common folk. Ruins became legends. Legends became half-believed tallies. The Barrow Downs remained haunted reminders of lost glory. Travelers avoided Fornost's crumbling remains. Children grew without knowledge of the kingdom that once guarded the north. This forgetting was perhaps the Witch-King's greatest triumph. Destruction can be rebuilt. Memory, once lost, rarely returns intact. Yet among the Rangers, memory burned fiercely. They remembered their kings. They remembered Elendil. They remembered that unity had once existed, and in that remembrance lay quiet resistance. Shadow had triumphed militarily, but it had not conquered hope entirely. The rise of the Witch King was not merely the story of conquest. It was the story of exploitation, of division, pride, delay, and fear. Arnor did not fall because it lacked courage. It fell because it lacked unity. Angmar did not win through strength alone. It won through patience and strategy. And when it was finally defeated, the damage had already been done. A kingdom erased, a people scattered, a warning sent to all Middle-earth. The Witch King retreated, but his destiny was not yet fulfilled. In time, he would strike again against Gondor itself. Minas Ithil would fall. A white tower would become a place of dread, and prophecy would await its hour. The North had learned too late that shadow never truly disappears. It only waits for weakness. Next episode, The Fall of Minas, Ithil, the birth of Minas Morgul.